When it comes to our children, however we shape them, however we mold them, that's exactly how they'll turn out to be, in most cases. Wouldn't you agree? If we can teach them right from wrong, when to say please and thank you, and how to clean up after themselves after making a mess, we should also be able to teach them how to identify negative emotions and how to channel them. But here's the challenge. Many of us as adults don't even know how to do that for ourselves. This is where the WISE, or Wellness, Intervention, Support, and Education initiative comes into play. Developed by Dr. Leslie Walwyn and by Dr. Nicola Bird, both strong advocates for raising awareness and solidifying further in the minds of society's members the importance of mental health. The aim of the WISE program is to teach both children and adults how to constructively deal with stress and better manage their emotions. Today's episode of Healthy Perspectives will be more of a feature presentation that will enlighten you further on the framework of the WISE initiative.
So the WISE initiative, where WISE is an acronym for Wellness, Intervention, Support and Education, is a program that we actually proposed to the government in June of last year. And it's actually a wellness intervention geared specifically at mental health. So this is the first time we've had a program that we wanted to go national on, where the target is not, making sure that we stay physically healthy, get our weight remains normal, and that we eat healthy. But this one was geared towards enhancing or maintaining good mental health. When we introduced the concept and made a proposal to the government in June last year, our Prime Minister gave full support and actually, much to our very pleasant surprise, funded the project completely. So it's a completely government-funded project. It ran from October through to December, a 3-month project, but then so much more has happened since then. For the WISE project, we wanted to, first of all, get an appreciation of what Antiguans and Barbudans, anyone living in Antigua and Barbuda, thought about mental health. When you hear the word mental health, or the term mental health, what do you think? So we got feedback because we know that there's a huge stigma associated with mental health disorders. So we did our research and got a lot of information on how Antiguans view it. The next thing we wanted to do is we wanted to work towards destigmatizing that. So once we had that information, we then decided we were going to go into the workplace. We chose one workplace, we chose one school, and we chose one church. And we went into those places and we had a mental health specialist, a consultant, Dr. Nicola Bird, go into those workplaces and explore people's feelings more about mental health, and then work on them and make sure that they themselves could experience better mental health through the intervention that she created. When we would do focus group discussions on mental health, when you'd ask the people, when you hear about physical health, what do you think? People think about, staying healthy, exercising, eating right. What do you think about mental health? A few people thought of being able to relax, take the time to think constructively, make sure that their thoughts are in the right place. But a lot more people thought it was something terrible, thought it was something bad, thought that it meant that bad things were happening to that person, and that person probably isn't a good member of society or productive or contributing member of society. So we knew that there was a lot of work to be done in mental health. And even when we asked people, well, have you ever had a problem? People would explore further and say, well, yes, they've had a problem, but that doesn't define a mental health problem. Mental health problems are much bigger than that. So part of what we wanted to do is to let everyone know that mental health is something we all have, and the degree of mental health that we have can vary. So I might have excellent mental health, or I might have very poor mental health, and it's not necessarily reflected by what you see in me, but it can be expressed by our behavior, what we do and what we don't do. So that was an important thing that I think Dr. Bird was able to help people understand and appreciate. And really what it boils down to for the vast majority of us is really how we handle stress. How do we respond to stress? And stress is an everyday part. Once we're alive, we're going to have some form of stress. So how we handle it, that really speaks significantly to the vast majority of us about what mental health is for us and how healthy we are mentally.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Concentration in your belly. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from your belly. Just bring your concentration from your head down to your eyes as you breathe breathe into your belly. Bring your concentration down to your nose. Your concentration down to your mouth. Bring your concentration down to your throat. Breathe and focus on how you feel as you're breathing in. Are you feeling calmer, more relaxed? Keep your concentration down in your lower belly.
I suffer with a lot of headaches, and for one I always telling myself, where is these headaches coming from? I have some kind of stress, and I addressed it and I said, where is the stress coming from? And I take a deep breath in and then take a deep breath out, and I said, okay, I know which part the stress is coming from, and then I cope with that, and then finally the headaches will go away. So it's like when we have the stress, like you coming in and teaching us how to deal with the stress, it's like, I said, okay. So I said, well, it's like a headache. It's like when you have a headache, it's like, you know, when the stress come along, you know exactly where the stress is coming from, so you know how to address it. Sometimes when I go work, it's like I feel so stressed out and tired. So from the time you come and give us this lesson about the stress and how to deal with it, it's like, because I work 2 locations, and when I left from one location coming to the next, and I enter at the door, I take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and I said, it is easy, continue doing it like this, it's going to be much easier to me. So I said, okay, it's helping me a lot, like sleeping and stuff like that. I used to not sleeping much, and I sleeping real good now.
What triggered the whole WISE project into being is we've had people very close to us who have not managed mental health very well at all and have had very sad consequences. So when we had that experience as a group of physicians, the Antigua and Barbuda Medical Association decided to come together and try and do something positive for the whole society at large. So the whole purpose of it was for the intervention itself was, of course, to enlighten people and make people think in a wider perspective as to what mental health entails. But beyond that, if people had good coping skills to handle stress, then we'd all be a lot healthier, both mentally and physically, because the two are, you cannot separate the two in the human being. One is inextricably linked to the other. I always say to my students or even to people in general, we have 4 different types of illness. You have where I can feel perfectly fine, but I'll be dead tomorrow, where something is physically actually wrong with me. I can feel like I'm about to die, but physically there's nothing wrong with me, but I feel awful, I feel terribly sick. And then there's variations of in between, where there actually is something wrong and there's in between. So mental health clearly plays a whole role in that, where how I feel certainly is related to how I am, in truth and in fact. So you'll have patients that you have been seeing them over and over repeatedly, for example, for back pain. And when you explore further, and there's nothing that works, there's no medication that works, there's no therapy that works, they go to the chiropractor, they have all sorts of various options done. But sometimes their back pain might actually be related to a stressing factor. They're not sleeping well at nights because they're having relationship issues, financial issues, emotional issues related to their childhood. And if we take the time and dig further and explore those issues and help them to resolve those issues, come at peace with themselves with those issues, it's actually that therapy that can resolve their back pain rather than just treating them with some Advil or some other type of pain-related medication. So it takes the astute physician and the caring physician that's going to take the time to sit down with the patient and help the patient understand what exactly the underlying cause of their illness might be.
First thing I've learned, I try to identify the stress of your life. Everybody have different stress, right? And with a good diet and with your prayer, you overcome. And exactly when you say the breathe in and breathe out, I've gained a lot from it. It helps you to be more focused, and it helps you to be come more closer to people, love people better, get along with people better, and fight stress better. You see, when you focus on the good moment of your life, right? You focus on the good moments and trample out the bad, right?
you'll always be focused and you'll be able to fight down stress.
I think there's a dichotomy in how men and women approach seeking healthcare in the first place. So in any physician's office, unless it's going to be a urologist where he's dealing with prostates, you're going to find far more women and men in the waiting room. That's one thing. So men are less likely to seek healthcare because men are always fine until they're not. And in terms of being open, in the focus groups, everybody who participated was pretty open because we constructed the questions so it wasn't about them. I think if the questions were very probing and asking individuals about themselves, we wouldn't have had the success we had. But we deliberately made the questions very third person, and we got great insight from both men and women and their perspectives. But in terms of how men and women express mental health challenges, I mean, the behavior that is associated with women. When women are depressed, certainly women tend to cry more, talk to their girlfriends more, might shop more, for therapy. Whilst as men, especially Caribbean men, we tend to do things a little differently. So men are not usually necessarily, perhaps because of their childhood training, going to end up crying themselves to sleep every night. Some do, and that's fine, but a lot of them don't. A lot more likely expression is rage. So anger, displaced anger, taking risky behavior, driving really fast, taking chances on the road, even promiscuity and excessive use of alcohol. So those are more ways that men might express their depression, and you really need to explore that as opposed to women who will have a different approach. But of course you can have overlap in both directions. The great thing about the program and that the intervention that Dr. Bird has imparted on her various target audiences is that it works from children. I think our youngest students were 4 years old, going all the way up to who knows what age. So it works right through. And the changes that we've seen in anyone who's participated in it, everybody's calmer, they've had much better outcomes, and everyone can mold themselves, and it's work that we are doing on our own selves to be better mentally. And of course, if you have mentally healthier children, they'll pay far more attention in school, they'll love each other more, less conflict, they'll have a smoother adolescence, and become more healthy, productive members of society. So this is my big vision, hopefully, that this is something that we can expand, not just to Antigua, but to other islands as well. It's a very simple intervention. It requires no medication. It requires no huge training. Some training is involved, but one person can affect, a whole community. And then if others in the community are taught, it's so easy to expand the training and, of course, the impact and the effect to affect a large population through one small minor change.
It teach me a lot and how to more manage the stress around the workplace, and especially with other co-workers and so I just work along. Sometimes I sit down and I relax myself, take in the breath and let it out freely, and so I just feel good about this program. I feel change about the working area, not to take on too much at one time and try to work on with it. So that is how I feel about this program.
In the WISE program, I used several methods, one of which is a mindfulness-based approach as well as emotional regulation. So I combine the two because mindfulness is the basis which you focus and you create calm, and that then creates the foundation in which a person can then create change. If it's just singularly mindful, you just it becomes just a calm state. And calm is really important because it creates within the whole body relaxation. And that relaxation is really important in order to create change. And from that relaxation, so there were some fundamental breathing techniques and for breathing techniques designed to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which means that the relaxation. And then from there, building techniques for self-regulation. So a person or children, because we work with both children and adults, could then learn how to regulate their emotions, because that's what all of us struggle with. How do we manage our emotions? When you're stressed, how do you manage stress? When you're angry, how do you regulate your anger? And when you have the tools and the techniques to be able to manage your emotions, then you have profound coping skills that you can take with you for the rest of your life, and you become a more empowered person. We work generously in the schools because that was the most regulated, where, well, in the trial program we worked 8 weeks in the schools, and then in the ongoing program that we continued, we worked another 8 weeks, and the children learned some fundamental, and little children starting from kindergarten up. And so the basis, the first starting point, step one, and the children learned each step so that they could do this for themselves. And so step one, focusing on their feet. Why? Sounds strange, because when we're all stressed and struggling, we're up in our head. And so by learning to just focus on your feet, you get out of your head, and it actually triggers your relaxation response as alongside deep breathing, and that deep breathing goes into your belly so that your belly expands. Because usually, most of us, everybody breathes, but as we go into more mature, we have improper breathing without realizing it. We breathe through our chest, and a calming breath comes through, triggering our relaxation response, which is deeper diaphragm breathing. So all the children learned that. So they focus on their feet. They learn to have breathe in a way that creates a relaxation response.
Exhale, all the air going down, feel it in your belly. We are going to transfer that now all the way down to our feet. Continue to think about that picture that makes you happy while you inhale and exhale.
And then they learn to regulate their emotions. So they would learn how to identify emotions within themselves that they would call a negative emotion. So anger or frustration or inadequacy or any human kind of emotions that we all struggle with. And children struggle with them just as much. We don't understand how much children are actually emotionally intelligent. So they will be able to, they would identify emotions that, and all the children could label, when you're struggling, what do you feel? Angry, frustrated, things like that. And then they learned how to be able to go, identify the emotion and then release it from their body, because those emotions are felt somewhere in your body. When you're in classroom and somebody says something mean to you, you give yourself a big hug, because you are somebody inside no matter what anybody says or does. If you're angry, if you think, if anyone right now thinks about something that frustrates them or bothers them, like getting stuck in traffic or somebody being rude to you, then where do you feel that emotion? And you think about that emotion for a while, you're going to feel it somewhere in your body, like in your head, your heart, your gut. And then the children would learn to know where that emotion was, and I feel it and experience it, and so they become self-aware of it. So again, they're learning emotional intelligence. Release that from them, and then concentrate on a positive emotion that they would have, that they learn to identify for themselves: confidence, self-worth, happiness. So a feel-good place for them, and they would then integrate that into their body. I am special, I am somebody, and feeling good about me. You're going to soak that in like a sponge into your heart, into your chest, into your shoulders, arms and hands, into your throat, into your face, into your back. And the children learn it very easily. They have a couple sessions. They can say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and they could say, because they learn it internally, they learn it for themselves. They learn how to feel good inside themselves and how to change their own emotions.
The first step in the stuff that you've been telling us is to focus on your feet. When you're finished focusing on your feet, you focus on the bad feeling and throw it in the garbage and change the bad feeling into a good feeling. When you finish changing the bad feeling into a good feeling, cherish the good feeling in your body and make it go throughout your whole day, so they can be more better and perfect. It's helped me many times, and sometimes when I get some homework, I just get frustrated, and then I just lie down in lie down, then sit up and hold my belly and do all the steps, and I felt better. A boy thumped me in my head at school, and then I was going to go and hit him back. Then I went in my classroom and then I sit down and focused on my feet and changed the thumping into just like a handshake. And then when I was finished, I just went to the teacher.
I used the WISE program when the phone was ringing and it was ignoring me. I would carry it outside, use a hammer and pong it. Because of the WISE program, I took a deep breath and I felt better.
A lot of times we think that children aren't again, emotionally intelligent. And the words that the children will use, like, I feel empowered, I feel strong. And these are children in grade 4, these are children in grade 2, because we're all emotional beings. But we tend to not think that the depth of which children actually are, again, emotionally intelligent. And once we train them how to develop their emotional intelligence, that empowers them. And integrating that into school gives children lifelong powerful skills. Not just, school, the emphasis has been on, getting grades and doing well. But what do we really need? And that's really important, don't get me wrong, I'm an advocate for that. But the adding on and the opportunity to use schools as a means for children to also learn to become emotionally intelligent, to manage their emotions, to become mentally healthy, to become mentally strong and emotionally strong. And because that's what we take into adulthood that makes us healthy beings. So when children learn that they can manage their emotions and direct their emotions, because like I said, that's what all human beings, when you reduce it to its smallest component, what do we say? I don't know how. I don't know how to, a person who's angry all the time, how to become calm. If you're anxious, how do I become anxious? If I feel low self-esteem, how do I feel confident? You don't really know how. So when the children learn that they can feel confident, that they can feel, and then they have that experience of developing that, well, then the outcomes are incredibly positive for them.
I focus on my feet, focus on the bad feeling, throw it in the garbage, and then turn that bad feeling into a good feeling. Like yesterday, I was going down the road because my mommy sent me to the shop to buy something, and then when I came back, my mommy asked me where is the change, but because at $1 they dropped, and then I couldn't find it, so I went and breathed and turned the bad feeling into a good feeling. Before we did this, I used to be angry, walking all over the place, but now I turned it into a good feeling. And I use the good feeling forever, and I don't think about no more bad feelings.
Well, when me and my mother were on the road, I was a little angry about something my mother told me. My mother did not realize, so I breathed in and out, and then I began to talk to her, and she felt happy that I used the exercise that you guys taught me.
Education and education environment can be a stressful place, and it is important that persons are able to cope, to learn coping skills. Once we can have emotional and behavioral stability, then persons would tend to be able to focus on absorbing information, discovering things for themselves, the knowledge that they would be able to grasp the knowledge that is being passed to them, or to discover in that constructive sense. It's just like physical health. If you are physically unhealthy, then you're going to have problems in the classroom. If you are mentally unhealthy, if you are not able to live with and conduct yourself in accordance with certain norms, then you wouldn't be able to fit into a setting that would a learning environment that would include others. Once we would have ascertained that emotional and mental health and behavioral health are critical to education, to a human being, then it follows that a program like WISE that is going to help to promote good mental health, good behavioral health, it follows that a program like WISE would be a good program to be in our school system.
The WISE program has been very helpful for the school on a whole. I am seeing positive changes in the children's attitude and how they relate to each other. And additionally to that, the teachers also are more relaxed. They're somewhat stress-free, somewhat. So I'm seeing changes, I'm seeing positive changes. I find that I'm more calm. I find that the children are more calm. So it's like I'm transferring all of my positivity from the WISE program to them and vice versa. I really appreciate them more, and at the end of the day I'm not as exhausted as before this program came on board, and I find the children are not as exhausted. They actually do more homework, so it's just such a benefit. Wow, give yourselves a big hug then, and you're gonna say, I am special.
I am special.
The WISE program has taught us so much in terms of recomposing ourselves, in terms of not wanting to fly off the handle, in terms of control. I like it. I like it. This has done a lot for us, and for us in our grade 1 room, we share rooms. Grade 1, we share the same room. Grade 1, grade 2, we have a calmer class. It is better, and you don't find the children getting so upset with each other because everybody is special, and we share the love because of what we have learned from the WISE program.
Exhale. Once more. Inhale.
1, 2, 3.
Exhale. Right, now we're gonna give ourselves a hug and squeeze tight. Love yourselves. I've actually learned self-control. I can be a bit of a hothead at times, and so with the intervention of this program, I've been made to relax more, breathe more, instead of act immediately, irrationally. There are times when sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a good job, because sometimes you may come to school today, you may have an excellent day during your lessons, but on some days it can be a bit tough. Maybe I'm not doing the right thing or not, and the kids, they're just not responding, and so I tend to become frustrated, and like if someone may do something out of the way, I tend to react, but with this program now, I've learned to sit down, relax, breathe, and so it has made me interact better with my kids as well too. It's a process, and the kids, they have been responding. They have been doing the breathing exercises. Whenever they may get into a wrangle or tangle with someone else, they will calm themselves down by doing the breathing exercises. I don't have to tell them anything; they just do it themselves. So it's working in that aspect.
And you guys should always believe, you should always know that I am special.
In today's special presentation, I hope you were able to underscore even more the importance of maintaining good mental health in your life and in the life of your child or children, and the importance of developing healthy ways of coping with stress. For more share-worthy information and to stay abreast on all things Healthy Perspectives, Be sure to like our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/AUA Healthy Perspectives. Take care of yourselves. We thank you for spending some time with us and for allowing us to share healthy perspectives with you. Be well, Antigua and Barbuda, and may your perspective always be a healthy one.